Hey everyone! Let's make Melanie Martinez makeup holders together. I'm using 2 jars for this project. I'll first start off with the jar that holds eye makeup brushes. On a small piece of paper, I drew an outline of an eye. Then I folded the paper in half and cut out a pair of eyes like so. I put a small amount of glue on it to stick them onto the jar from the inside, as I wanted the outside of the jar to be waterproof. I cut out a teardrop from a piece of paper and glued that onto the jar as well. I put a layer of glue on them from the inside and also around them so that the paint does not seep through the paper. To make this paint, I mixed some blue and green acrylic paint together. I also added some blue glitter and glue to make the paint stick to the glass. Then I painted half part of the jar on the inside. I painted some parts with this shade. Then I mixed some white to make the color lighter and painted the rest. Then I made some black paint, mixing black acrylic paint and glue together. With this, I painted the other half of the jar. I wanted to make it look like Melanie's hair in her music video of Carousel, but without the pink streaks. Using white liner, I drew 3 windows and a door to make it look like a dollhouse. Then I wrote the following lyrics from Dollhouse inside the lines. And this room is probably where Sippy Cup takes place. Then I let that dry. You can just write the letter I, but I had these hard pieces lying around. So I first drew a lollipop stick to make it look like the letter I and glued this hard piece onto it to make it look like Melanie's lollipop tattoo. Using a black glass liner, I outlined the eyes and the teardrop. Using a thinner nozzle, I drew some eyelashes and eyebrows. Inspired by Melanie's eyelashes in Dollhouse, I made the eyelashes on the right eye longer than the left. Then I drew the pupil and iris with the help of a needle. I painted the eyeballs using chocolate brown glass paint and the teardrop using blue glass paint. This is optional, but I also painted the sclera with white glass paint and filled it in using a needle. Using white liner and a piece of foam, I smudged some white paint on top and bottom of the left eye, similar to Melanie's makeup in her Pity Party music video. Using the black glass liner again, I drew the 2 marks on them. Finally, I added some white dots on it. I drew a small reflection on the teardrop as well to give it a 3D effect. I glued a silver gemstone on the bottom of the right eye using Superglue, similar to Melanie's eyes in Sippy Cup music video, although hers was black in the video. To make the bow for the rim, I cut out a rectangle and a strip of pink felt paper. I cut the tip of the corners to make them curvy. I folded the rectangle into a bow and glued the folds using hot glue. I wrapped the folds using the long strip of felt. I glued a white ribbon on the rim of the jar, which I will show in the next jar. Then I placed the bow onto the rim using hot glue, and this one's ready. Onto the jar which holds makeup brushes for the face. I placed the jar on a piece of white paper and drew around the base with a pencil. Inside the line, I drew Melanie's clock tattoo because every clock has a face. Then I colored it in and cut it out. I put small amounts of glue on it and glued it to the base of the jar from the inside. I also put a layer of glue on it and around it so that the paint doesn't go through the paper. First, I made purple paint by mixing some red, blue, and white till I got the perfect shade. Then I added some magenta glitter and more glue. I painted the bottom quarter of the jar. If you accidentally get some paint on other parts of the jar, then you can remove it with tissue or just wash it off with soap. Then I made pink paint using red and white acrylic paint. I also added some pink glitter and glue. Then I painted the top quarter of the jar. This was inspired by Melanie's hair in her Dollhouse music video. On a piece of white paper, I first drew and then cut out a pair of lips. I traced that on back of red glitter foam paper and cut that out. I cut out 2 small hearts from pink felt paper as well. I glued them on the outside of the jar using both normal and super glue for stronger hold. This was inspired by Melanie's makeup in Sippy Cup. Then I added some white dots on the lips, inspired by one of her makeup looks on her Instagram. Using black paint, I painted the other half of the jar. Inspired by one of Melanie's dresses, I drew a collar on the top of the jar. Below this, I drew an outline of Melanie's teddy bear tattoo using golden glass lining. Then I wrote the following lyrics from Sippy Cup. I cut out a small strip of golden paper to make a handle of a cup similar to that in Sippy Cup. I made 8 small roses from white ribbon. I wrapped white ribbon around the rim of the jar and tied it into a bow. I hot glued the ribbon in place. Then I glued the roses around the rim, one by one. I glued the handle on one side of the jar where the pink and black paint meets. Finally, I added these pink gems above the hearts using super glue to finish the look. Then I added some marbles of different sizes in the jars because they look like soap bubbles. Then I added the makeup brushes and it's ready. This jar was actually suggested by one of my subscribers, so thank you very much. I had a lot of fun making these and I hope you all have fun as well.